everybody. Thank you for joining us again on this week's edition of the Hemmings Hot Rod Barbecue Podcast. On this episode, we have a good buddy of mine by the name of Rob Einaudi. Now, Rob is Hemmings' very own Director of Marketing and Business Development. I have known Rob for the better part of 15 years. Now, Rob is one of those guys that I call when I say, I should probably buy this. And then Rob calls me and says, you probably shouldn't, but maybe you should buy this. He's that guy. And we've been doing this back and forth for more than a decade. On this episode, Rob and I talk about car buying, both new and used. We talk a little bit about leasing, and then we grab a couple of cars from our Hemmings classifieds to tell you what good deals are and what bad deals are. More importantly, we also have the $2,500 challenge. What can we buy for $2,500 or more? And by more, I mean up to $5,000. We'll give you our picks, and I think this is going to be a recurring theme because I want to hear what you guys think are the best $25,000 to $5,000 deals. We'll be back in a few seconds, so stay tuned. Grab that cup of coffee. Come right back and chat with us. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the next episode of the Hemmings Hot Rod Barbecue Podcast. We are back and in our studio right now. Are you ready? It is our very own Rob Einaudi, Director of Marketing and Business Development at Hemmings. It is a big title, Rob. It is a massive title for a massive man. How are you? What's going on?
I'm good. You're definitely scraping the bottom of the barrel of the guest list now to have me, but thank you.
Hell no. Well, here's the deal. So just a little background. So Rob and I have worked together in one way or another for probably 15 years or so.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
And Rob came on to Hemmings a year ago.
Yeah, almost exactly.
So, but the cool part is like, Rob is one of those guys that I like, regardless that we both work for Hemmings, Rob is that guy that I call him like, I should probably buy this. And then Rob goes, you probably shouldn't buy that. Or Rob will call me and be like, what do you think about this Roadrunner? I'll be like, you don't buy that. And so we literally
me out of this. And yeah, exactly. All the time.
What you're about to hear is a conversation between myself and Rob that we literally have just about every day. And then we were like, well, why don't we talk about it on the podcast? Because like people should understand this because this is what we kind of do for a living. And it's kind of fun. So we're talking about car buying today.
Car buying.
And
how many cars have you bought this year, Mike?
Oh man. Well, between 2020 and this part of 2021,
5 or 6 or 7 or 8.
I think I bought 4.
4. Okay.
I think I bought 4. So, but like this is what we do. So this is our car buying episode. We're going to talk about how you can buy properly, smartly, make some money if you buy the right things and you want to flip something and make a couple of bucks here and there. So grab a cup of coffee and listen because this is, like I said, we do this every day. So let's see, Rob, where do we start? Should we start with the buying and flipping? Should we start with the new cars and how to buy properly? Should we start with our $5,000? You can get a fabulous car for $5,000. Where do you want to start?
Well, how about starting with the whole concept of the saved search? Which I like. And I went through this last week because I have a saved search on these 60s series Toyota Land Cruisers, right? And I got an incredible one popped up in my Gmail, and I was a little late to getting to it. Got to it after 9 minutes. One owner, rest-free. Yeah. And that car was gone in 2 hours. Pulled.
This is what people don't understand. So a lot of people will ask me, they'll say, all right, you buy these cars all the time. And listen, I'll be perfectly honest. I've gotten really good at it. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I've gotten really good at it. And when you see, and like Rob mentioned, these alerts, and you can set, Rob, do you use Search Tempest or a Craigslist alert? Like how did you set it up?
I have a saved search on Craigslist locally for these Land Cruisers. And then I have a saved search on Hemmings for Roadrunners. And I watch both of them very closely. Okay. And have missed several times on both.
Well, is that because you were sleeping or just lazy?
Just didn't get to them quite fast enough,
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. With that being said, like, will I look at probably, without exaggeration, probably about 300, 500 cars a day. A lot of times in the morning, I'll do a quick search. A lot of times before I go to bed, I'll do a quick search. I'm always curious about what goes up online.
Yeah.
If you are going to buy a car, say for instance, like Rob said, he's got to search for Roadrunners, right? 69 Roadrunners, 70 Roadrunners,
68,
right?
69 post cars,
Okay.
automatic
Rare
bench
car.
seat.
Okay, so basically the Roadrunner that everybody's like, I don't want that one. I want
That
the four
one that
speed.
nobody wants, the boring
Yeah,
one, the taxi cab.
and Rob wants triple green.
Yeah, with a column shift.
With the columns, so the granddaddy of all granddaddy Plymouth Roadrunners. So here's the thing.
Hubcaps.
Oh well, yeah, you got to have poverty caps, right? Because the whole car is a poverty car. That's what it is. Basically, what you're doing is you're like, you want to buy the lowest spec Roadrunner ever designed.
I do.
And that's the one. So here's the thing: if you do these alerts, I think one of the keys with buying, if you get an alert, and if you start properly, I can almost guarantee you will always find the car you're looking for. But it takes patience. I want to say pinpoint accuracy on your point, and the willingness to be able to travel and buy at a moment's notice, right?
For sure. 100%. I think the main thing is you have to have the cash ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a must.
And you have to be ready to jump in a car or, like you said, drive to an airport even.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's very, very true. I think, like, I bought a few cars. I mean, a perfect example, when I bought my Bronco, this was a couple of years ago. I had been looking for a Ford Bronco, and I had been looking and looking. Well, a buddy of mine had found this ad. It had been posted at 11:30 at night. So I'm assuming the ad was posted. The guy had probably gone to bed. My buddy texted me at 6 o'clock in the morning. At 6:02, I hit this guy up. He texted me back at like 6:17. He was like, "Man, it's really early." I'm like, "When can I come and see your truck?"
Yeah.
And I literally went to the bank, got a deposit, and then like cannonball. It happened to be about an hour away from me. Cannonball down to his house because like it was a good deal. It was a good deal on a nice truck. You have to be willing to be Johnny on the spot with the money and with the time. So whatever, if you see that perfect car, if you ever see that Roadrunner, the perfect triple green bench sheet column shift 383 Roadrunner, right? I get nervous because Rob will see it, and then I don't know, having known you for so long, if you would jump out of bed that quick and be like, "I'll be there in 5 minutes with money." You might be like, "I have to make coffee first."
Yeah,
and if you make coffee, you're gonna lose it.
Well, where do you think the competition is? Do you think it's do you think there's competition on a $50,000 car? Do you think it's more on the $20,000 car, like that kind of speed?
I think it depends on what you're looking for. I think if you're looking for, like if you're looking for like a Roadrunner, right? Those are, we say between 25 and 45,000, depending on condition and options and things like that. Then sure, there's competition there. But I mean, in the $50,000 range, if you're looking for, say, a 996 turbo, a Porsche, well, that's a 540s, $50,000 car on the low end that goes all the way up to 60 grand. So, I think it really depends on what you're looking for, but I think it all comes down to it's like any other deal, man. It's being right place, right time, moving as fast as you can to get it, right?
Yeah. And we talked about this too. Like, if you want to make money on a flip, you make money on the purchase, not on the sale.
So yeah, and Rob and I have done this. Yeah, and Rob, my favorite Rob flip. This is my favorite Rob flip of all time. He pinged me and he bought this massive Chrysler Town and Country wagon. Wasn't it like a 70 or something like that?
72 with a 440, and it was the most grandma vehicle ever. A 90,000 mile one owner car. It was being auctioned off by a charity, and I just harassed them until they finally. I just kept bidding and finally got it for still way less than it was worth.
Yeah, basically free. Just say basically I got it for free.
Basically for free. And I just drove it for 6 months. I put gas in it twice. And then I washed it and I put it on. This is before Hemmings auctions. I put on Bring a Trailer and got 3 times what I paid for it.
Yeah. And that's, well, I mean, that's like that. He just made money like instantaneously. And I think that's part of it, right? I think a lot of people buy cars and they try to flip, and which is fine. Like, I don't have any problem. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, they're flippers or they do all this stuff. Listen, if you buy a car, say you buy a car for $3,000 and you can make $5,000 on it, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you do that? I mean, that's a fine way to make a living, especially if you got something that is a good car that you know is in demand, that somebody else is going to want. So I don't see any problem with that whatsoever. I think where people lose is that they get a car and then they feel they have to upgrade it or do things to it to sell. And in some cases, I'll be honest, you have to do that. In some cases, you have to do some upgrades. Like, you know what? Spending $200 or $300 on a good detail, fine.
Worth it.
Right? If a new set of tires, a detail, you put an alternator or brakes on it, whatever the case is, say you're $1,000 out of pocket and that $1,000 is going to net you $3,000 to $5,000, that's money well spent. Right?
Yeah.
The loss is, I think, when people go out and they buy these vehicles and they put $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 on them and they expect to recoup that money, because every dollar you spend, I want to say for the most part, is a dollar you may lose if you do it incorrectly. Does that sound right?
Yeah, and I think the places you can really get in trouble is any kind of buying something that needs body work or buying something that needs a lot of paint work.
Yeah.
That's why I'm almost always look for original paint, even if it's kind of crappy original paint. Mm-hmm. I love that, and I would never touch it myself. Mm-hmm. And it'll present well to the next person. Like, they'll appreciate that too.
So what is your red flag? Like, when you go look at cars, what is the one thing that you see and you're like, nope? Even if it's the best deal or you think it's the best deal, what's the one thing that you'll walk away
on from? Mopars, the one that always turns me away is when they've done the black spray bomb in the engine bay. And I see that I just saw that on a Red Runner today. Like, Mopar people say, oh, it got the Chevy treatment under, like somebody, and you know that there's stuff going on there,
So explain that for non-Mopar people, what a black engine bay means.
Well, because Mopars, at least B bodies that I'm mostly familiar with, are always body color in the engine bay. Whereas I'm not a Chevy person, but a lot of times the Chevys will be black there from the factory, correct?
Yeah, well, Mopars are unibodies, right? So when the bodies were painted, they were dipped in one clean shot or painted in one clean shot. So that's why the engine bays are always body color.
But you'll see tons of Mopars with black spray bombs in there, and so that one's always like a no to me. Any kind of the obvious, like 3 different kinds of paint and weird body work, and I like stuff from the West Coast. It's going to be less likely to get a bunch of salt damage, that kind of thing.
Well, the West Coast, I think, is a tough place to live for a few reasons. I mean, as an original East Coaster, I would see cars that would just have rust everywhere, and I've gone through cars where a buddy of mine had a Roadrunner, and we were sanding it down, and it was about an inch of Bondo until we finally hit a license plate that was tacked into the corner. And that's the type of crap that you would find on the East Coast. Yeah. Here, it's, we say on the East Coast cars rust from the bottom up. Here they rust from the top down, right? Because the sun just destroys everything. But like interior pieces, you can fix, you can restore those. Where, man, once rust starts growing, it's, unless you are really prepared to spend some money, walk away. And I think that's extremely true of vinyl top cars. Like, if you see 2 or 3 bubbles under a vinyl top, walk away.
Yeah.
Just walk away.
Trouble.
But the other part is, like, we always talk about what deals are out there, and there's a lot of people that will say, I don't know, I can't buy a good car. I can't buy a nice car. I don't have the money. And I'm always like, well, everybody has a budget, right? So if you come to me and you say, I've got $2,500, I'll find you a car, and I'll find you a good car. It might not be what you want, meaning it might not be a full-size SUV, or it might not be a Mercedes. but I'll find you something that you can drive for 50 to 100,000 miles with minimal maintenance. Rob is the master. Like, I'm the master of this when it comes to used cars. Rob is the master at this when it comes to new cars. And every
Maybe.
time oh, dude, don't even bullshit, because like every time we talk, Rob's like, yeah. So right now, Rob, he has an Alfa Romeo Stelvio. I hope you don't mind me telling everybody that, but
Yeah,
I just
that's
says
fine.
I don't care. And I remember when he called me and he's like, "Yo, I've been looking, I've been looking around for a car, and they're giving these things away. They're literally
Yeah.
giving these Stelvios away. I could get one. What did you get that thing for?
I think like 0 down 400 a month, which seems like crazy for the car that
An
it
Alpha.
is. Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
a brand new Alpha. That's like a $50,000-$60,000 car.
Yeah. And it's a hoot to drive, and it's been totally reliable, which is the other thing that shocks people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 3 years, good times with that. I'll probably get another one.
Well,
Honestly,
but that's
if they do the same deal again, I'll do it.
yeah. Well, I think the best part of that is, like, you'll call me and you'll be like, he'll just look for the best possible deal out there. He'd be like, yeah, man, Alpha's literally giving cars away. I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna get an Alpha. They're nice enough, right? I'm like, yeah, they're great cars. He's like, I'm gonna get an Alpha. And then he'll call me later on and be like, all right, so the lease is almost up on Alpha, but I might get another one because they want to give me another one for the same amount of or less money. So
Well, I think this is going to be tricky this time around because of some of the shortages around there's shortages in the marketplace right now. So I'm not sure what's going to happen next month when I have to lease another car. I honestly don't know what's going to happen.
well, I think on solid good used cars, yeah, I think everybody's seeing a shortage. I know that dealers in particular are seeing a shortage of used cars. Places like Carvana and CarMax right now, they're offering insane. Like, a buddy of mine had a GTI, and I believe he said he went to CarMax and he paid like 26 for the car, and they were
Yeah.
gonna and he had it like for 3 years, and they were gonna give him 23
Yeah,
or
that's
something like
amazing.
that. Like, how do you drive a car for 3 years, $1,000 a year, and
Yeah,
then get
that's
90%
incredible.
of your money back? Like, that's, I don't know how they can do that. I'm just, I don't know how the economics on
There,
that work, but
well, there's just it's a supply demand thing right now, and yeah, so I'll be curious. Like maybe they'll be sold out next time I need another one. So the other thing, it's good to look for cars that are kind of at the end of their cycle. Like was the VW Tiguan is going to be replaced soon, so
totally.
there might be good deals on that one. It kind of depends what you're willing to drive to. But yeah, Nissan Leafs for a while there. If you want an electric car, they are almost giving those away.
Do we
So
remember when what was it, the 500e came out? They were $99 a month.
yeah, yeah. And the
You know,
i3 for
it's
a little while, the Beamer, which is a hoot to drive, is hilarious.
mm-hmm.
They were giving those things away for a while. I think they're back up again, but
Yeah, I just, again, it comes back to a lot of people, again, when they say I can't afford a car, I'm like, you absolutely can. It might not be what exactly you want, but don't tell me with the deals out there and the stuff that we see on the used car market that you can't get a car, because like I said, I mean, we should do that, dude. We should have like the Hemmings, like $2,500 and $5,000 challenge, and so who could see if they could get the best car for
you should.
$2,500 and then like $5,000, because I have bought some killer cars for $2,500 that have lasted me
Oh
years.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yet, I mean, I know at the beginning of, was it the end of last year? End of 2020, I was looking for a used car just as a kind of a knock around that I don't have to worry about. And I found an '02 Jeep
The
Grand
Jeep.
Cherokee,
Yeah.
my white Jeep, like a two-owner car with 118,000 miles on it, in mint, literally showroom mint
Yeah.
condition,
Yeah.
$5,000. And everybody's like, well, it's an 18-year-old Jeep. I'm like, it's, but for $5,000,
Well, and the key is somebody took care of that particular one.
well,
That's the key.
that's the key, right? That's the key. And when I had looked at it, I remember I found it on Craigslist, and it was high priced at the time for a Grand Cherokee,
Mm-hmm.
but the owner he took immaculate care of it. So when I got there, I
Yep.
just looked at it. I was like, oh, here's your money,
Yeah.
because you know that will last me another 100,000 miles,
Yeah.
and I don't have to do anything to it.
Yeah. No. I used to buy Volvo 240s because they were always owned
Mm-hmm.
by these people who bought them new and took it to the dealer for everything. And you get this huge book with everything that's been done to the car since new, and they'd be like $1,500. Now that's not, now they're 10,000 or whatever. But that was just a great car. Great. The demographic who buys them takes care of them. So looking for those kind of things is good. It's hard to buy like a Fox body Mustang because they're like backward, like when Roadrunners were, they just got the shit kicked out of them their whole lives. Right. So those are hard to buy. Right. But some cars are just easy to buy, like the Volvos, because the lives they've lived.
Well, my go-to for like cars like that, I always tell people, I'm like, look at the mid 90s to the early 2000s, Buick Sentries, LeSabre, anything that says Buick on it. Like literally anything that says Buick, because it was bought by somebody who was 65 or older.
Yep.
It's somebody's grandmother or somebody's grandfather. The cars have 38,000 miles on them because they don't go anywhere. They go to the doctor and then they turn around and they go home. Right. And they're 25 to 4,500 bucks, and they will literally run forever.
They're really comfortable.
They're super comfortable, and everybody's, again, it might not be what you want, but they're great cars. They will run forever. They've got heated seats and great air conditioning. It's a GM. They made a billion of them. Yeah. Like, people, use your heads. Yeah. Like, I always tell them, I'm just like, go look at Buicks and Oldsmobiles. Use Buicks and use Oldsmobiles. Best deal out there on the used car market.
When family members call me, I just always say, it's a car I'd never buy myself, but I just say, just get a Toyota Camry.
I mean,
that's what I always say.
Yeah, buy a Camry. How many miles should it have on it? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It's the one you're never gonna. You're not gonna get any blowback later on that purchase from the family member. They're not gonna be like, "Man, this thing was terrible." They'll be like, "Yeah, it's fine."
It's fine, and I think that's the whole thing. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. That was like, you remember when the Ford Taurus was out a million years ago when it first came out? It was like the Ford Taurus, and I mean, they literally are. They just you'll wear out before the car does. Yeah. And you'll get sick of it and you'll sell it, because I give Toyota a lot of credit, because granted they have the TRD Camry right now. Like, don't buy that. That's a waste of money. But go out and lease your base model Camry, run it for 250,000 miles, change the oil 6 times. You'll be fine. Don't be afraid of mileage. But it's, we talk about cars like that, and then Rob and we always talk about sports cars, and we're like, what? So what are the two, Rob? What are the two sports cars you go buy if you have $40,000? What do you buy?
Cayman.
No, brand new.
Oh, brand new. A brand new sports car? Mustang, I guess. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That seems obvious. I don't really know what else I'd even look at until Mustang, I get up Camaro. To Porsche level. Yeah.
Right.
Probably a Mustang. I like Mustangs. It's kind of a no-brainer.
They're bomb-proof. You can beat the hell out of them. They're
400
still muscular,
horsepower and just something you can tool around town in. This is ridiculous.
I remember in 2013, I bought a brand new GT, and I subsequently turned it into kind of a spec Mustang track car. But I did the suspension and then proceeded to literally beat it to death for 24,000 miles on the racetrack. I drove it from my house to the racetrack, beat it to death, and drove it home. The clutch was fine.
Nothing.
Everything was great. Stock drivetrain, stock transmission. That car lived its entire 24,000 miles between 5,000 and 7,000 RPMs.
Wow.
And it ran perfectly. So like, cars like that are great. Like things like a BRZ are great, but we were talking about this the other day, and Rob actually found one of our classifieds on the Hemmings classifieds. And I think we both agree, they're so undervalued are the Porsche Boxsters.
Oh yeah. You can pick if it's not an S, they're probably under 10 grand for a nice one now. And you can get a nice S. I think the one I sent you was like 12 or 14. And again, that's the kind of car like the Volvo 240. It's typically owned by somebody who takes care of them.
Yeah.
You can tell when they haven't, because the interior is all ripped up. But But yeah, that's a great value right now as a Boxster.
Well, I think a lot of people, my buddy Andrew bought one and he showed up in this Boxster and it was white, had like Hello Kitty stickers on it and crap. Like it, but it was, he's like, dude, I got it for $3,000. It had
Are you
like 100.
serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
$3,000. The top was ripped. It had like, 140,000 miles on it or whatever it was. And he's like, how could I say no? So he,
No.
he buys this thing for $3,000. He has been hammering this thing for the last year, like during COVID.
Yeah.
We'd go out for a drive and he shows up in his clapped out Boxster and he's beating it
Just
to death.
killing
And
it.
he's like, this thing is the best $3,000 I ever
No,
spent
that's
because
unreal.
he's like, no maintenance. He goes, I change the oil once in a while. He goes, and then he goes, I just beat the hell out of it. And people forget, like, fine, it's a Boxster, and everybody's just, whoa, a Boxster's a piece of crap. They're so not piles of crap. This is Porsche. It is, even the cheapest Porsche is
Yeah.
built better than almost anything out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And it's one
Yeah.
of the best balanced sports cars
Oh.
out there at any dollar amount.
Porsches, I mean, the Boxster and the Caymans. So Boxsters you can get for next to nothing. If you
Yeah.
want a cheap sports car and you don't want a Miata like everyone else, take $5,000 to $10,000 and go buy yourself a beautiful Boxster and
Yeah.
giggle
Yeah.
as you are ripping up your favorite back road because they
Yeah.
are that good. Porsche Caymans, Porsche Caymans are fabulous, fabulous cars, and they were cheap for a while. But the market and the enthusiast crowd is slowly catching on to the fact that, oh, these are really good. Like a
Well, and they don't make very many of them.
no,
So it's those are not going to go down in value. I think it's ridiculous how few they sell in any given year. So it's a very small
yeah.
pool of cars you're picking from. And so that if you actually get one, that's money in the bank, honestly, that car.
A buddy of mine just bought one. I guess he bought one about maybe 4 or 5 months ago. He bought I think it's an '08 Cayman S, 30,000 miles on the clock or 32,000 miles, something like that. I think he paid 30 for it. But when I tell you, it is showroom new. The owner was a fanatic, and that's the thing you'll find about Porsche owners. They are fanatics. I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, Jesus, $30,000. I'm like, what are you going to buy from any new car? What can you buy that's going to offer you that kind of performance, handling, and braking? And the answer is nothing.
Yeah. And if you take care of it, it'll never be worth a penny less than what you paid for it. It'll probably probably double in 10 years or something.
Cayman values are already starting to go up. Now, there are vehicles that we look at that I never thought would be worth money, and then I still don't understand. You sent me a link, right? Rob he sent me a link, and he's like, "Wow, that went for a lot." And then, like, these are the conversations. So he sent me a link, and God bless it. We had a Toyota. We had a T14 FJ Cruiser. This is a car that is 7 years old. It's not an old car, right? And Toyota didn't. It's like they made a bunch of them. 18,000 miles, $45,000.
Yeah. Well, it's a special color. It's a special package on that one and low miles. Like most of them are that porta potty blue color, but this is kind of a special blue. So like, the FJ again has been canceled, right? So that car will never go down in value, and some of the rarer ones are really going up in value. It's kind of remarkable.
My question is, like, I'll be perfectly honest. I've never driven one. Are they that good, or are they just that cool?
They're cool.
They are cool. I think they're wicked. I love the way they look. I think
unreal blind spots. The blind spots are just amazing.
Really? I think you know what? One of our Hemmings staffers has one. Kurt Ernst, who's one of our managing editors, he's got one.
Yeah.
I need to talk to Kurt because like he's had his forever, and I feel and Kurt's another one of the people at Hemmings that like Kurt's no joke. Like he knows what to buy, and I feel like, and I remember having a conversation with him years ago when he bought this thing, and he was just like, man, he goes, God forbid the world ever goes tits up. He goes, I got an FJ Cruiser and a chainsaw. I'm getting through everything.
No, nothing. He's fine. Larry Chen has one that he loves. He's had that for a long time too. So I've got another buddy who's had one, and he's put tons of miles on it, and things a tank.
That's a Toyota. I mean, it's not gonna break. I mean,
no.
It's not gonna break. So what do you think are what do you think is completely overblown in the market right now? Like, what cars are you looking at, or do you see that people are paying for, and you're like, they're out of their mind?
Any air cooled Porsche,
Mm-hmm.
but that's me. I mean, I think they're cool. Don't get me wrong, but I think the prices have gone crazy, but they'll keep going crazy. So I'm not predicting anything there.
But why do you think that is though? Like, why? Because there are other manufacturers that make great cars. Why do you think the air cooled Porsche thing has gone? Because I thought the bubble was going to pop on those eventually, and I feel like it hasn't. But I don't. I'm. Why do you think
I
people are
mean,
buying them?
I think the people who have money who buy cars now, the enthusiasts, uh, it's kind of from our generation, has finally got the money to drop on these things. That's has always been kind of the halo car for them. I mean, it
Yeah.
just has, and like it's not as far flung as an Italian car, but it's this, if you're like a tuner kid, you're the next move up is Porsche. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Well, what would you buy aside from the aforementioned Roadrunner? Like, what do you have your eye on that you're like, eventually I'm going to get one of these? Like, what do
I like the
you?
older Alfa Romeo. The GTVs have gotten too expensive. That's the one that's gotten too expensive. I always
Oh
wanted.
wait, you sent me one of these. Hang on,
Yeah, I
which one
sent
did you
you.
send?
I just sent you a cheapo mid '80s
Oh
graduate
wow.
Spider, but it's $4,000. And that's a reliable little car with Bosch, fuel injection.
Then it's
It was
so
four
this
thousand
is
bucks.
really interesting. Yeah, so he sends me this thing. I'm looking at it now. Maybe Jason could put it up on screen.
It's on the Hemmings
But
auctions from last week, I
yeah,
think.
1988 Alfa Romeo Spider,
It's
five
the
speed,
Yeah.
46,000 miles. So for 4,200 bucks, my God, what a steal!
It probably needs a couple things, but those are really solid little cars. They're not junk. That was a good car, and they'd been building it for 20 years by the time they got to that point. So most of the issues are kind of worked out. Um,
Yeah, but I mean, listen, this one had a salvage title, but like, who gives a crap for 4,200 bucks? Like,
well,
if
as
you
we
want to
both
get into
know,
the
a lot
sports
of
car world,
salvage titles, like cars that hit a depreciation number, will get a salvage title from from a
yes,
rock
that's very
chip.
true. Yeah, that's very true.
but
Um,
uh, but yeah, those, and you can find those in your local Craigslist, and of course on Hemmings. But they made a lot of them, and they're around, and those are affordable, and those are fun. They're
I feel
they're
like
really fun to drive.
if you this would kind of be like the alternative to that $5,000 or $6,000 Boxster, right? Like it's
Yeah,
not going to be as fast or handle as good, but my God, will it provide you a great kind of back road fun experience,
it'll
right?
give you that, and it's more of the kind of pure '60s thing, because it really is a
Yeah,
'60s car.
yeah.
It was designed in the '60s, and just
Hmm.
slowly it gives you that really old school '60s roadster vibe, and it's just very, the second gear probably won't work, stuff like that, but they're super fun to drive.
That's true.
And it's slow, 0 to 60 in like 18 seconds, but
Yeah, but there's a lot of slow junk out
they're
there.
a
I mean,
hoot. They sound great, and they're just cool, and they're quirky.
I like that. Well,
Yeah.
Robin sent me a bunch of them, but then there was like, we were talking about deals and another one that went. I mean, the craze on these has cooled down a little bit, but he pinged me an 86 Grand Wagoneer that's
Yeah.
a rust-free car. And these, like, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, these were, man, they were going for money. I know because I have one.
Do you think they're
Um,
cooling off?
I think the market on the Wagoneers is cooling off a little
Oh,
bit. I think it's like anything else, right? The best of the best will always bring the money,
yeah.
right? So if you have a really beautiful Wagoneer and it's in tip-top shape and everything works and it's get in and drive, you'll get that 25 to $40,000 for it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have one that's in nice shape with no rust, but maybe the interior is a little shoddy and it needs a couple mechanicals, I mean, you're talking a 14 to 20,000, or I want to say a 10 to a $20,000 truck, right? I think that's where they
What's
pretty
nice
much live.
about these, and that Land Cruiser I try to get, is that they're still practical and reliable cars that you could not
Oh,
necessarily daily drive or commute in, but like they're great to go to the store, take the dog to the park, whatever.
oh
They're
God,
still
yeah,
good for all that stuff. That an Alpha like is more of a weekend thing, and
yeah.
Roadrunner too, right? Like that's more of a, like, tinker
Yeah.
around with and occasionally
Well,
drive.
the Wagoneers, I mean, hell, I mean, we have a 90 and it's still got the original 360 in it with a whopping, with a paper shredding 144 horsepower.
That's an awesome
but
car, man.
It's got 170K on it. Starts up every time. It runs good. Everybody, wherever you go, stares at it and is like, "How much money do you want for that?" And then I always tell them, they're like, "F off! I'm not giving you that." I'm like, "Well, I want to sell it." You know what I mean? But they're great cars. The visibility is fantastic. But I think there are so many good options out there in the marketplace that you can buy. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to spend $1 million for a perfect whatever it is you're looking at, but I guarantee you there's something out there that's going to fit your budget.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
What else did you forward me here? Oh,
I like that Pantera.
Dude, these Panteras are reminding me of like 308 and 328 Ferraris because forever, a 308 or a 328 Ferrari was a $25,000 to $35,000 car.
And the Panteras were cheap for a while too.
Panteras were always 25 grand.
Yeah.
30. I mean, nobody wanted them.
Yeah.
And now $100,000.
$100,000.
150. 308 Ferraris are $60,000, $70,000.
Yeah, easy.
Man, I don't know. I still look at these things and I dig the Panteras because they're Italian American. They're like us, Rob.
They're
Italian
like
Americans.
Us. They're exactly. You get the Italian style and you get a V8 Ford, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Either way, they'll look good. They'll look good and they'll always run because
they're
you
still
can put
Italian though, because they will catch on fire apparently pretty easily. So they definitely.
Well, that's true. Well, see, that goes right back with our tempers though, right? So it's fine. Still fiery on the inside. Yeah. But the good part is like it's a 351 Windsor in these things. You could do, or is it a Cleveland or a Windsor? That's a good question. I gotta find that out. Either question. Way, they're great cars. They don't weigh anything. They weigh like a sub 3,000 pounds. Mm-hmm. They're plenty fast. I mean, I've driven them. They're fun to drive. They look great, and it sounds like a hot rod. It sounds like a 32 Ford.
Yeah, and the interior is more like a muscle car than like an Italian car, right?
Yeah, I mean the interiors of Panteras are kind of quirky. It kind of reminds me of like a second gen or first gen Corvette where like
exactly.
They put the radio in the dash, but they were like, "Oh shit, we don't have enough room. You know what? We'll just turn it vertically." Nobody will even know, and that's what they did. So like whoever designed the interior had one eye closed with 6-notch jack in them, and they were like, "No, it'll be fine.
That's fine.
No, that's fine. No one's even gonna care. It'll be great." Frank, do you think this will look good? Yeah, Bob. Just put it vertically. It's totally fine. Switch the numbers around.
Oh my god.
Which I think it's hilarious. Like when you look at a lot of these older cars from like the 70s and the 60s, you know that where the designers just totally messed up. Like come hell or high water, they were getting their shape that they wanted, but then they just didn't know where to put everything. Like dash fans or air conditioning or radios, they're like, "Oh yeah, we forgot about that." It totally cracks me up. It's like we're talking about that Alfa Romeo, right? That Spider.
Yeah.
Like the if anybody's ever driven one, the transmission, the stick for the transmission is literally on the dash.
Yeah, it's sticking like straight.
It's sticking straight out at you. So like you have to put your hand like straight forward as opposed to down.
It's very different.
It's driving really peculiar. Yeah, it's cool, but it's peculiar. Like the purists and the enthusiasts will be like, "No, this is one of the signature things. It's wonderful." Where any normal person would be like, "Yeah, somebody messed up.
Yeah,
somebody totally messed up. This isn't supposed to be here like this." Oh God. But and then we've got another one up here, this 78 Plymouth Roadrunner.
That was hilarious.
Which
$28,000 for a 78. What is it? A Volare, basically? What is it?
It's basically a Volare. It's a Volare. Or an Aspen. So you know what? Here's the thing.
It's got the graphic package.
I remember on House of Muscle years ago, we did a petty version. We did a 78 petty car.
Okay.
And for those that don't know, the petty cars were factory cars, and they were they had these big fender flares before fender flares were even popular. I mean, years before they were popular. But all the body cladding, they had 8-inch wheels. They were really cool, and they had these 360s in them that where they had like this, it's called a lean burn ignition system, and the marketing thing supposed to get your
Strangled.
mileage. Yeah, but it was a fun car, and I
Yeah.
think the one that I drove and tested, it was pretty stout. Like I know it was bone stock,
Hmm.
but and I forgot what it was rated at. I want to say it was like 200 plus horsepower or 300. Maybe it could have been 300. It was late 70s. So let's say 200 horsepower. But it felt like it was underrated, and they actually drove really, really well. So when I
Yeah.
see a car like this, and it has been restored, the interior is cool, the exterior is cool. I would I would buy something like this because I can absolutely appreciate the time that somebody took to restore a car
Get
like
it
this
right.
and bring it back
Yeah.
to show, because it's such a rare machine that I like the fact that I do like the fact that somebody said, you know what, this thing is worth almost $30,000 to me,
Yeah.
because they literally bought a piece of design history that's mobile, and it's not a lot of times it's not always about performance, right? It's about preservation and bringing something that's not common back on the road for people to see. And whoever bought this thing, I give them full props, 'cause I think it's cool as hell.
What's interesting about those late 70s, early 80s cars is they went through such a long period where they weren't cool that most of them got crushed.
They
Whereas
would
like all the true muscle cars never really went out of style. So,
no.
people keep them around. You see just thrashed ones, but they never crush them. But most of these just straight up disappeared off the face of the earth. So when you find one like this, it's actually kind of rare and special, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
And they
no,
stand out in traffic. I mean, they look weird now, honestly.
I think they look great. Like
Yeah.
when they've got these like Austin would probably Mike Austin, who's another one of our Hemmings guys. He would love the graphics on this because like the different colored stripes, like the reds, the
It's like
oranges, the
OP
yellows.
shorts, right? You can just wear your
Yeah, dude,
and your
it's
Varnays
totally
and stuff.
it totally screams early 80s like surf car. Um but it's got these tacked on like fender skirts and this crazy spoiler, and this is when the time when they were making no power, right?
Yeah.
And graphics meant speed,
Oh yeah.
cartoons meant speed. The fact that they did it in association with Warner Brothers, and there's an actual Roadrunner on the side, and it's got the little beep beep horn. It's just
It's
it's
fun.
kitschy, but it's cool, man. I would totally drive something like this, but I would make fun of myself as I drove it. So like when people came up and be like, "Did you want to race?" I'd be like, "Nah."
No.
That'd be a mistake. I'm not racing anybody. I'm gonna get my quart of milk and go to Cars and Coffee and come home.
There you go. There you go.
um, but otherwise, like we talked about, there are loads of good deals out there.
I
If
want to
you are
know what your
looking,
$2,500 deal is that you're talking about.
my best $2,500 deal.
Yeah.
My best $2,500 deal was my
Just the
Caprice
Buick.
wagon.
Oh, the
No,
Caprice. Oh, for
yeah.
you.
So
But that's
so
not 2,500 anymore. 2,500 today.
no, they skyrocketed. So my best $2,500 deal right now would be any Buick Oldsmobile
Okay.
from the mid 90s up until the mid 2000s. Any Saturn, okay? If you can
But do you
find a
say
Saturn,
Saturn?
I did say Saturn. Saturns were, listen, I'm talking about, you got to remember, I'm talking about good,
Yeah.
reliable
Yeah.
transportation that's not a lot of money. So everybody forgot Saturns exist.
Oh
If
yeah.
you go on Craigslist, you will find Saturns out there. And you got to remember, they made the large Saturn. I forget what the name of it was, but it was basically a Chevy Malibu.
Yeah.
They're basically free cars, right?
Yeah.
Somebody will give you $2,500 for this thing. It'll be owned by a grandma. It'll have 50,000 miles on it, and it will literally run for another 100,000 miles. It is good, cheap, reliable transportation that will get you anywhere. And every single part, aside from maybe body panels because they've been out of production, but like mechanically,
The plastic body panels.
yeah, mechanically everything is out there. Those Buicks and old Oldsmobiles run forever. Every part is out there. Um, those are my $2,500 recommendations because, and and I look for those. I look for those all the time. And
You look for Saturns.
oh, dude, you know why? I'll give you a perfect example. I have a neighbor that lives across the street from me. This guy has the world's most perfect two-door Saturn. I think it was called like an SC2. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
It's purple. It's the same color as Grimace,
Yeah.
right? From
Yeah.
whatever was that Burger King? Was Grimace from Burger King commercials back in the day? Same color as or Barney. Okay, Barney the big stupid dinosaur thing.
Yeah.
The interior is flawless. The
Yeah.
exterior is flawless. The car has 28,000 miles on it.
It's amazing.
I guarantee you, if I was like, my man, I'm gonna give you $2,500 for this, you'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Like what? It is you will use it for another 100,000 miles and it will not blink. Like again, a lot of times if you're in a situation you can't get what you want, doesn't mean you can't get something that's fabulous.
For 2,500, I'm just been scraping my brain while you've been saying it. I would probably, and you will completely disagree with me and probably yell at me for saying this, but Saab 900.
Okay. So
you'd probably have to get a 4-door for that price. So you might be able to find a pretty cool car.
You know what? You absolutely can. I did sigh. I did. The only reason that I sighed, I don't know what the parts availability is.
No, it's trouble. It's trouble.
Okay.
But there's a good community around them.
Yes,
there's some people with a specialized knowledge, and they are really fun to drive. I think it's one of the best snow cars I've ever driven.
They are
that vertical windshield. I mean, they're cool. And talk about quirky. I mean, they've got quirks galore.
Dude, I used to have one.
Oh, you did? Okay, well then that's
yeah.
Good. Yeah.
I
grew up with one. I got a soft spot for them.
Well, Saabs are cool. Saabs, like Rob said, are quirky. Like they have the key is in the center console. Is in the
So it just gets jammed up with like lint or like kids candy and.
Oh yeah, candy, and then like your parking brake, like that screws it up. So like that's just wonky. And then they had this. I don't know if yours did. Do you remember the blacked out dash? So mine had this thing because Saab's old ad strategy was like Saabs derived from jets. They're very, very proud of this. So one of the things that they did was there was a button on the dash and it was called blackout mode.
Wow.
And to this day, it is one of my favorite features I've ever seen in a car.
That's
you would hit the button. Oh, dude, it was great. At nighttime.
Why don't they all have that?
Dude, every single light on the dash, everything would go out except for the speedometer.
That's freaking brilliant. I love it.
I used to love that. I would be driving along, I'd hit the blackout button, just go whoop, all the lights would go out except my speedo. And it was, believe it or not, it was a really kind of encompassing way to drive a car.
Yeah.
Like you were solely, it was cool.
Yeah. Brilliant stuff. And that hatch is amazing. Like it's a straight up station wagon if you fold down the seats. So you can load so much crap into those things.
Totally. Well,
it's just a really fun, the way it's balanced around. It's like one of the only front wheel drive cars that I think was ever fun to drive, but just they're neat. I just think they're cool.
Well, it's interesting. They had of that generation, they had like the 900 turbos and they were actually quite quick.
Craziest turbo lag ever, but yeah. Crazy.
Third gear was the jam on that car. You hit like 4,000 RPMs.
Wait for it. Wait, here it comes.
Yeah. They were great. But even like if you could find like an old school 900 with like roll up windows and they exist. I mean, I live close to Berkeley, dude. They're all over the place.
They're all over. So Berkeley would be, if you live in Berkeley, you'll find parts because there's going to be like 500 Saab nerds in your immediate area. That'll help you out. And there'll probably be cheap parts, honestly, because like those cars are never really going to go up in value. I don't think the only ones that are going up are some of the nicer convertibles. They're starting to with the Aero ones and stuff. But
my buddy Mike actually
still like one
has
of those.
My buddy Mike has a Vigan. Do you remember those?
Oh yeah.
And that dude, I saw that a couple of weeks ago, and I'll tell you, it was even by today's standards, it's a nice looking car.
Yeah.
Interior components were always above what you would expect. Like the leather was great. The materials were really great.
Swedish seats, just like Volvo.
Fabulous.
Amazing.
Fabulous, right? So, I'll definitely jump on board with that.
All right. I usually get yelled at every time I say Saab around other car people.
I'll jump on that. I like that. So like, all right. So that, and then what would be your other? Give me another $2,500. Give me another 2,500 to 5 Gs.
Oh, we can go up to 5. Well, I mean, I think as we've seen now, these 80s pickups are good in that range.
Oh,
You can
dude,
still find one.
anything 80s and 90s. Like I have an F-150 that's, I think by the time this airs will probably off Hemmings
Yeah.
auction.
Yeah.
But like I've got a 95 Ford F-150. It's a single cab short
Yeah.
bed. It is an XLT, so it's power everything, right?
Yeah.
It's an inline 4.9 liter 6-cylinder with a manual. And it is, man, I keep looking for reasons to keep it because it is the easiest thing to drive. It is the
Yeah.
easiest
Yeah.
thing to work on. You can, dude, I can do a tune up on that thing in 16 minutes.
Great visibility, practical,
Great visibility,
safe, will never
fine.
let you down. It's
No,
not too
300,000
big like some of these new pickups that are just like insane. Like it's the right size.
Yeah. Well, that's the other part of it. My neighbor has a newer F-150. I'll say it's like a 2013 or something like that.
Yeah.
I park my 95 next to it, and it
Yeah.
looks like a Mazda B2000.
Right.
Like it's a tiny, like, and this is a full-size F-150. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what? I don't
Yeah.
understand. Like the
Yeah.
pickup trucks got so just overly massive
Yeah.
and huge to the point where you're like,
Yeah.
the hell am I going to do it? Like, it's too much. It's just, dude, Alana and I were talking about this when we did the Suburban road trip for Road
Yeah.
to Improvement.
Yeah.
The Suburban that we drove was an 81. The visibility was unbelievable. The
Yeah.
amount of room was unbelievable because back then it was still a usable truck, meaning it didn't have like, it didn't have
What's all the
DVD
safety stuff
players and all the
too.
safety stuff. And like, I get it, things are safer now, but just the interior door panels,
Mhm.
there, we couldn't get over how much more room it had than a new Suburban.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So I don't know, man. I don't know. What time is it? We've been doing this for almost an hour. Holy crap, this has flown. Okay.
Yeah, everyone logged off by now, so you made it this far.
So
you
you
get a
made it this
prize.
far. We congratulate you. We're going to send you a toasted almond bar and a cup of coffee to enjoy it with.
Send us an email. Maybe we'll send you a T-shirt or something.
Yeah, man. Seriously. I mean, let us know in the comments what your favorite $2,500 to $5,000 car is, and then
It's a great range, a great challenge.
Yeah, maybe we could do something with this. Maybe you find us your best $5,000 car, $2,500 to $5,000 car, and then maybe we'll have you on the podcast as
That'd
a
be
guest.
fun.
We'll send you a link, send you a T-shirt, and then have you come on and you tell us why your buy was the best thing that you've ever done.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I like it. Well, that's a good idea.
All right, good. Well, that's it. That's the end of the show for today. We'll do this again soon because it was fun. And the next time we'll do $5,000 to $10,000. How's that sound?
All right. And then we can do $1,000.
Ooh, that's a challenge. I like that. I like that. All right, buddy.
All right.
Listen, enjoy. And I'll probably talk to you in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Sounds good, man.
Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you soon.
Adios.
Bye. Thanks for listening, folks. And again, please subscribe to the Hot Rod Barbecue podcast. If you're on Spotify, check us out there. Subscribe to it on iTunes. And if you are going to go to YouTube, make sure you go to the Hot Rod Barbecue podcast and hit that subscribe button. And we'll come to you every week.